Welcome to the second in a series of online workshops geared toward library and information science students and early career librarians, organized by the LLAMA New Professionals LAS Program Outreach Team. My name is Shannon Keeley, and I'm a member of the LLAMA New Professionals LAS Program Outreach Team, and I'll be moderating today's workshop. Our team is chaired by Dr. Elise Jordan from Arizona State University. Our members are Sarah Gilchrist, Joanna Kimmett, Shannon Meyer, Michelle Osborne, and Allison Salisbury. Now we'll have a word from our chair, Dr. Elise Jordan.
Thank you. Good morning. I am a proud African American, chair of the LLAMA New Professional LIS Outreach Committee. Before we introduce our speakers, let me take a moment to acknowledge the extraordinary, troubling times we're living in and the impact that it's having on our society. The recent deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Deion Johnson. I want to thank our speakers and all of our attendees for joining us. Even as many of us, as well as our friends, families, and communities are facing grief, loss, illness, financial woes, and more. In the American Library Association statement in support of Black Lives Matters, it says, the library's profession suffers from a persistent lack of racial and ethnic diversity that shows few signs of improving. In 2018, just 6.8% of librarians identified as African American. The page offers readings and daily actions we can all do to effect sustained change and support racial equality in the library profession. The LLAMA New Professional LIS Outreach Team encourages everyone attending this webinar, and especially those who recruit and employ librarians, to commit to these changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise. Next, I would love to introduce Allison Jennings-Roche, who will be giving a presentation called Never Miss an Opportunity to Tell a Good Story. Allison Jennings-Roche is a new reference and instruction librarian at the University of Baltimore as of January 2020. She graduated with her MLIS from the University of Maryland in December 2019. She has a previous master's degree in legal and ethical studies and a bachelor's in English literature and political science. Allison has a professional background in student affairs, yoga and group fitness, public libraries, and academic library services. She lives in Baltimore City with her husband and their four spirited, very small children in a house filled with pets, craft projects, exercise equipment, and climbing gear. Welcome, Allison Jennings-Roche.
Hi, everyone. So I'm calling this Never Miss an Opportunity to Tell a Good Story. And my name is Allison Jennings-Roche. You just heard my brief bio. I'm a reference and instruction librarian at the University of Baltimore. I am a lifelong city resident, and I love the city. I got my first master's degree in legal and ethical studies from the University of Baltimore. So when I heard that there was a job opening up, I actually took 12 credits, 4 classes last semester, and graduated a semester early and kind of did everything in my power to get a job at the University of Baltimore because I'm passionate about the students that they serve and everything that they do. Previously, I worked at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County as a reference services specialist, which was a really great job because I got to do a lot of librarian type things in, a slightly different role. And before that, public libraries. I spent years as a stay-at-home mom and a fitness instructor, yoga teacher, all of those things, and was in student affairs before then. That's just to give you a little bit of a broader background, since I have a couple extra minutes to understand where I'm coming from. I try to bring my whole perspective to everything that I talk about. So I know Davian was going to touch on a lot of the specifics of, phone interviews, right? Like what makes them unique, what makes them stressful. Nowadays, it feels like everything's a phone interview, right? We're kind of constantly on a screen, on Zoom, through headphones or whatever we're doing. But so my biggest advice would be to set the scene for yourself. This is not a picture of my home office. I wish. But do the best you can, right? Set up where you have clear space, you have a notebook, You can drown out any noise. If in the interest of full disclosure, because I'm on Zoom, this right here behind me is like a clothes rack with a curtain on it, because I'm not ready to share like the mess of my home office / home gym / everything extra room we have in the house. And then, I have the door closed. And I just, do everything you can to feel really comfortable where you are. I remember one time I had to do a phone interview and, all of my kids are home. This was before even the pandemic. And I went in my bedroom and I shut the door, moved a desk in front of it, turned the air conditioner on loud so I could drown out their noise, and just did everything I can. So that's what I mean by how much can you control. Obviously, everybody's in a unique time right now. So do the best you can to feel confident and feel good about where you're coming from when you're ready for that phone interview, and make sure you have a pen and paper to take notes. So the overall theme of what I'm talking about today is the idea that, you can create a compelling story through an interview, right? Like humans are wired to think about people in terms of stories. They're wired to think about those like quirky, unique things, that about a person, right? Like you will never forget that funny story from, someone's summer camp or anything along those lines. So think about that as you're in an interview, right? Matt Bird's book, The Secrets of Story, I highly recommend. It is not at all about librarianship or interviews or anything like that, but it talks about the way our brains think about characters, right? And all we are functionally is a character to another person. So you want to use that tool to connect with your audience, and your audience is the people that you're interviewing with. And I don't understand what is happening right now. I've never had this happen. I can't advance my slide. Awesome. There we go. Please. Yes. So interviews are the perfect time to showcase the favorite parts of your journey. So think about, what are the favorite parts of what you've done in your life? Focus on those small stories, those small details. In librarianship, a lot of us think about research. We think about, books, things along those lines. But think about like, when did I really connect with someone? When did I help with someone? When did I do something that I found meaningful? And so use that. Remember that this is a time that you get to talk about yourself for 15, 20 minutes, a half hour, and really think about structuring the information you have around your story. And to do that, I think the best way to do is to start with, where are you interviewing, right? Know your institution. Know what their stated values are, their mission statement, where they put their money, what kind of things that they fund, what kind of programs they have, right? And this applies to public, academic, any libraries, right? They have this outward scope of what they're putting forward always. It's like, these are the things we value. These are the things we're highlighting. You can look at their institutional advancement or their press releases or anything along those lines. Look at their institutional history, right? Where did they come from? Where are they going? What do they want to do? And who do they serve? And then also think about news stories, right? Because the university or the college is telling a story about itself, ultimately, in these outward-facing materials. But those news stories and those other things, like where they're actually putting their money, will tell you a lot about what they're doing too. And so as you think about that, knowing the institution, knowing where you're going to interview, right? If you were going to interview at a community college, maybe you wouldn't focus on, how you helped a PhD student in the past, right? You'd think about how you helped, an undergraduate. Or if you're in a public library, you may not speak about, academic specific EBSCO databases. Like, really know who you're talking to and who you're telling this story to. So do as much research as you can, because when you have that information, you can tie the bits of yourself to that institution. All right, please work. And then look at the job description, right? What kind of role is this? Is this a is this an access services role? Is this an instruction role? Is this a circulation role or a cataloging? Think about that generally, right? You're not going to go in and talk about your classroom experience if you're trying to get a cataloging job, or, if you're looking for an access services job. What you are going to think about is maybe something like public service, customer service for access services, very specific things. And then look at the unique duties, right? What is this institution looking for in this role? You'll almost always see, like, in those preferred, those are like the extras, right? That's where they're telling you what they're looking for. Like, this would be really cool. So even if you don't meet those things, obviously still apply. But think about how you can tailor parts of your story to those really specific things and how you can talk about it. Do your research, read about it. Things like when you see words like knowledge of, that really just means that you've read enough about it to talk about it, right? Don't ever be scared, but really, really read every line of the job description and think about how you can tie your stories to the job description as you go. So fundamentally, you're going to take the pieces of the puzzle, right? You have the institutional knowledge, you have the job description, you might have the specific library if we're talking about, you know, academic library or something along those lines. And so you're going to take those pieces and see where you fit, right? These are the portions of my past, my story, where I fit in. I know when I was trying to make the break from public libraries to academic libraries, one of the easiest things I could lean on was my leading training in the past, right? In student affairs, I had a huge student staff, and I'd be like, training students is basically the same thing as teaching in a classroom. College students are college students. And along those lines, I was able to speak to, you know, I'm comfortable public speaking. I'm comfortable in front of being in front of people because, you know, I've been a fitness instructor. I've been a yoga teacher. Those kinds of things are really interesting to people, right? They're like, oh, that's an interesting tidbit. I didn't think of it that way. But it also really connects what you've done to the role. It doesn't have to be this, you know, one for one, I have taught an information literacy class, or I have done this one very specific skill set. Just talk about how you have created this version of yourself that you think would be a good fit.